The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the dragon family entered. Even the perpetual hum of the translation matrices seemed to quiet in deference, or perhaps fear. The Ketheri dragons were not literal dragons, of course, but the name fit. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, their obsidian scales caught the light like shattered stars, and their eyes glowed with an inner fire that spoke of worlds burned and empires toppled. Ambassador Velshera moved first among the assembly, her claws clicking against the pristine floor. Behind her walked her mate, Crosdan, and between them, supported by both parents, limped their daughter, Satha. The young Ketheri's right wing hung at an unnatural angle, the membrane torn and barely healed. Burns covered nearly half her body, and her scales had dulled to a sickly gray where they had regrown. The assembled delegates, Virwinen, Heliost, Tarkonian, and dozens of other species, stepped back. Some retreated to the walls. Others simply left through the nearest exits. The Ketheri's reputation preceded them, warriors without mercy, conquerors without conscience, a species that had carved their empire from the bones of 13 extinct civilizations. Robert Chen watched from the human delegation's observation deck, his fingers drumming against the railing. Beside him, Elsa Novak leaned forward, her medical scanner already active, its soft blue light playing across her features. Everyone's running, Robert observed quietly. They're terrified, Elsa replied, not looking away from the dragons below. The Ketheri destroyed the Polmari Confederacy just 30 years ago. Half the species in this chamber lost colonies to them. Look at the girl. Elsa did. Through the scanner's enhanced vision, she could see the depth of Satha's injuries. The burns were old, months healed, but healing wrong. The wing would never fly again without surgical intervention. But more than that, she could see the pain in the young Ketheri's eyes, the way she struggled to maintain the proud bearing expected of her people while clearly exhausted. She needs help, Elsa said. They won't give it to her. Look, the Ketheri had reached the center of the chamber. Ambassador Velshera's voice rang out, translated into 100 languages simultaneously. We come seeking medical assistance. My daughter was injured defending our colony from the Zerath incursion. We have exhausted our own medical capabilities. We invoke the Galactic Medical Treaty. The treaty was ancient, predating even the Ketheri's rise to power. Any species could invoke it, and any signatory was bound to provide aid. In theory, the chief medical officer of the Virwinen coalition spoke, her voice careful and diplomatic. The treaty is, of course, sacred. However, Ketheri physiology is complex. We lack the expertise, as do we, interrupted the Heliost representative quickly. Our facilities are undergoing renovation, added the Tarkonian delegate. Excuse after excuse rippled through the chamber. Some were plausible. Most were transparent fabrications. The message was clear. No one would help the dragons. The fear was too deep, the grudges too fresh. The memory of Ketheri warships over burning worlds too vivid. Velshera's scales darkened, the Ketheri equivalent of a flush of anger or shame. Crosdan's claws extended slightly, scraping against the floor. But it was Satha who broke, her legs finally giving out as she collapsed. Her parents caught her, but the damage was done. The mighty Ketheri, brought low by the petty revenge of lesser species. Elsa was moving before Robert could stop her. Elsa, wait. But she was already descending the stairs from the observation deck, her medical kit slung over her shoulder. The chamber's attention shifted as she crossed the floor, her footsteps echoing in the silence. A human, the youngest species in the Galactic Council, barely 2 generations removed from their first contact. What could they offer that the elder civilizations could not? Robert watched from above, his heart pounding. Then he followed. Elsa knelt beside Satha, ignoring the warning growl from Crosdan. I'm a doctor, she said simply, holding up her hands to show they were empty of weapons. May I examine her? Velshera's eyes blazed. You dare, Mom. Satha's voice was weak, barely a whisper. Please. The ambassador's scales rippled with conflicting emotions. Finally, she nodded. Elsa's hands moved with practiced efficiency, her scanner humming. Robert arrived, immediately understanding what was needed. I'll coordinate with our ship, he said. We can have a full medical suite transported here within the hour. The wing needs reconstructive surgery, Elsa announced, loud enough for the chamber to hear. The burns required genetic therapy to prevent necrosis of the scale beds. The internal injuries. She paused, her expression darkening. How long has she been suffering like this? 43 days, Velshera admitted, her voice cracking for the first time. 43. Elsa looked up at the assembled delegates, and there was steel in her voice that Robert had rarely heard. You let a child suffer for 43 days because of political grudges? The silence was damning. Robert was already on his communicator. This is Robert Chun, human delegation. We need a full medical transport, emergency priority. Authorization code Chun 7 Delta. He looked at Velshera. We have a ship in orbit equipped with a universal medical bay. It was designed to treat species we haven't even met yet. We can help her. What? Crostan demanded. Why would you help us? We have nothing to offer humanity. We are not well loved. Elsa didn't look up from her scanner, already programming treatment protocols. Because she's hurt. Because we can help. Isn't that enough? The words hung in the air, simple and profound. Robert met the ambassador's burning gaze. Humanity remembers what it's like to be alone, to be feared, to have others judge us for our worst moments instead of offering us the chance to have better ones. He extended his hand, a human gesture that Velshera likely didn't understand. Let us help. Slowly, the Kethrii ambassador reached out and clasped Robert's hand with her massive claws, careful not to puncture the fragile human skin. Transport arriving in 3 minutes, Elsa announced. Satha, you're going to be fine. I promise. The young Kethrii managed a weak smile, revealing rows of crystalline teeth. Humans, she whispered. Strange little humans. As the medical transport materialized in the chamber's transport zone, Robert looked around at the assembled delegates. Many looked ashamed. Some looked thoughtful. A few looked angry at the precedent being set, but the Kethrii family looked grateful, and sometimes, Robert thought, that was enough to change the galaxy.